Hello, Brobs. I'm back with another book. Ill-advised, but I'm starting The Tiger in the House, the classic book on the history, manners, and habits of the cat by Carl van Vechten. I've read several reviews and they're not polite towards this book. The introduction I've looked through and it's a little bit annoying, but I think I'm going to read it anyway. Then get right into chapter 1. Let's read the liner notes. We have much to learn from the cat, we men who prefer to follow the slavish habits of the dog or the ox or the horse. If men and women become more feline, indeed, I think it would prove the salvation of the human race. To author Carl van Vechten, the domestic cat is an animal who has been God, a companion of sorceresses at the witches' Sabbath. It's a Sabbath, a beast of royalty in Siam, who in Japan is called the tiger who eats from the hand, the adored of Muhammad and the favorite of poets. Since the dawn of recorded history, the cat has been one of man's companions. The beauty, grace, and mysterious character of the small beast have fascinated some and repelled others. Ranging through literature, painting, history, music, mythology, and the rich vein of his own experience, Carl van Vechten has written a fascinating and timeless account of the feline personality. This certainly is a cat Bible. The Tiger in the House is absolutely fascinating. As a matter of fact, it is a treasure house. The little scraps of literary gossip in it alone make it absolutely indispensable for anyone who likes to explore the hedgy bypaths of an author's life and thoughts. I wouldn't be without it for anything. Fanny Butcher, a self-confessed dog lover. The nerve. Let's see if there's anything on the back. Every lover of cats should own this book, the best single treatise on the cat, spiritually rather than biologically considered, that we have ever seen. The Chicago Evening Post. Right then, The Tiger in the House, Carl van Vechten, with a new introduction by the author. Dorset Press, 1952. This is the 1989 release of the same book that was, I believe, originally came out in the 20s. For Edna, Kenton, and Feathers. The main gripe in many reviews that I saw on Goodreads was that there's full paragraphs in French. I mean, back then people actually had schooling, unlike now, we're all heathens. An introduction to the third edition. Since the publication of The Tiger in the House in 1920, several other books about cats have been issued. My own anthology of cat stories, Lords of the Housetops, appeared in 1921. Richard Miller's anthology, Just Cats, Doubleday, Doran, in 1934. And Puss in Books, Geoffrey Blaze, London, edited by Elizabeth Drew and Michael Joseph in 1932. There is some duplication of material in these anthologies. The Cats by Mary E. Wilkins Freeman is included in all three of them, but each volume presents a few discoveries of the compiler. The Drew Joseph book is particularly fortunate in the inclusion of Ethel Coburn Maine's fine story, The Man of the House. In 1930, Michael Joseph issued a volume called Cat's Company, devoted to the habits and adventures of the author's own cats, and a more charming narrative it is. The illustrations, which also pleased me enormously, were drawn by the German artist B.F. Dolben. Algernon Blackwood's Dudley and Gilderoy, The History of the Cat, and a Parrot. Ernest Benn, London, 1929, is a delightful reading. Pardon my hair. Is a pleasant reading, and Sven Fleuron's Kittens, Knopf, 1922, might be regarded as the superlative of cat fiction. In my foreword to this novel, I wrote, Grey Puss and her kittens are observed in their relations with nature. Their relations with man are recorded from their point of view rather than his. This is the new note in this authentic cat story, authentic at least within the limitations the author has set himself. In much of the previous fiction involving the cat, Puss has been handled quite in the manner of Ouida, Duchess. Kittens is the feline Esther Waters. The Cat in Verse, compiled by Carolyn Wells and Luella D. Everett, Little Brown and Company, 1935, is a more elaborate, if less selective, poetical anthology in this department than had hitherto appeared. Many of the more celebrated poems about cats are included, but there are also many new ones. M. Oldfield Howey's The Cat and the Mysteries of Religion and Magic, Ryder and Co., is more unusual. Typical chapter headings are vampire cats, the cat as phallic symbol, the cat in Chaldean and Egyptian magism, Christ and the cat in heraldry. There are 35 such chapters, each with its special bibliography, and the work is profusely illustrated. I would say that every one of the books is essential to any well-selected library of books about cats. I would also like to recommend Xenia Gay's Town Cats, a book of drawings, Knopf, 1932. Some of the best cat pictures I remember seeing are to be found in this book. Miss Gay has been Catholic in her choice of subjects, ranging from haughty Persians and sleek Siamese to rowdy alley cats. Fujita, the Japanese artist, issued a portfolio of cat drawings too, the Book of Cats, with text by Michael Joseph Kovici Fried, 1930. If you admire Fujita's sketches of women, you will assuredly prefer his cats. The stylized and decorative felines of the French painter Jacques Nom have become popular since The Tiger was originally published, and I cannot resist awarding honorable mention to the American Louis Boucher's painting of a cat with a ball of yarn, and to the Mexican Adolfo Best Malgard's white cat on a cushion, which hangs in my Victorian room. The sweet face of the pussy in this painting has always reminded me of Tallulah Bankhead. Going back to Xenia Gay's Town Cats, I looked up a copy of that book, and it's rather pricey, but the cover itself is rather amazing with a dust jacket. It's bona fide stupendous. Certainly, I have devoted sufficient space in these pages to Steinlen's cats, but when I was writing this book, I was not familiar with two lithographs in color by this artist, Lehiver and Liet, his masterpieces in this category. I think I should miss these were they taken from me more than anything else I possess. In 1927, Sergei Lefar danced in the Cat, music by Henri Soggy, produced by Sergei Diaghilev and the Russian Ballet. Amy Lowell's To Winky, which appeared in Pictures of the Floating World, 1919, stamps her as a felinophile. How did I come to omit all mention of May Sinclair? When on her losing a cat to which she was devoted, W.L. George sent her an orange kitten. She returned the gift at once with the explanation, "I cannot bear to have another cat. I lost my first one 20 years ago, and my grief was so prolonged that I vowed I would never have another. I have just lost my second and last." A little later, when Miss Sinclair visited New York, she wrote me, a stranger to her, to inquire if she might call upon me to see my cats. She spent an afternoon with Scheherazade, I don't know how to say that, in my 19th Street garret, and apparently had a happy time. This cat enjoyed a pleasant habit of sleeping in a great yellow salad bowl, curled up with her tail protruding over the brim. If she were placed in this bowl at almost any time, it usually pleased her to relax and fall asleep. Ellen Glasgow still refers admiringly to this bowl of cat. It wouldn't be difficult to ramble on in this vein. Fanny Hurst told me that after a lecture on some literary subject, Before a college group, when she called for questions, one girl rose and demanded, "How many cats has Carl Van Vechten got?" In a restaurant at Formia, where I stopped for lunch driving from Naples to Rome in 1934, I saw a tremendous cat fight, really the most formidable encounter between savage animals I have ever witnessed. A waiter separated the combatants with a considerable display of sadism. There should be some mention of the strange 7-pound Abyssinian cat who turned up at a cat show in New York in 1935. Ina was described as wearing a ruddy brown undercoat, ticked with dark brown and a dark stripe down the spine. The head long and pointed. The head long and pointed, the ears standing straight up, and the eyes, which now seemed yellow and now green, brilliant. Ina was friendly. On page 245 of the volume which follows, in reference to the dedication of Blind Alley, there is mention of a creature named Russet. Actually, I have discovered this was the first Mrs. George. I might add that those who want a more complete history of Feathers, with an account of her touching end, will find it in my book, Sacred and Profane Memories. 16 years older now than I was in 1920, on rereading The Tiger, I paused dumbfounded before the amount of erudition displayed, and I vastly admire the evidence of research. If in these days I were required to write a book about the USSR or swing music, I believe I should undertake the task of assembling my material with far less thoroughness. On the other hand, I stand in not a little awe of this younger and apparently more studious self, Carl Van Vechten, June 11th, 1936, New York. New York. There's your contents, bruv. And for brevity's sake, I will stop here at the beginning of The Tiger in the House and then pick up with chapter 1 by way of correcting a popular prejudice in a follow-up video, and then etc. until we're on page 10 million, where by then you will be speaking French. Goodbye, bruv. Goodbye.